Welcome back, parents. Jordan Langdon here with you for another episode of the Families of Character show. Listen, I am so excited for our guest today. I have a new friend in the studio with me today. So if you are listening to this and would like to take a peek at our interview, then go to our YouTube channel, the Families of Character show, so that you can watch us side by side having a great conversation today. So welcome to the studio, Linda.
Hello, Jordan. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Guys, Linda is a wife. She's a mom of 2. She's a grandma of 8 and a great grandma, or Gigi, twice. She's also the founder of Grandparents4Kids. So I'm just going to give a little bit of your bio, Linda, because you've done some really awesome things. So you guys, Linda has worked for more than 30 years in the medical field. And during this time, she went to a few really awesome places with medical missions. She went to Nicaragua, Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic. She's also served as a medical guardian with the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight. And this is a group of individuals that fly veterans to Washington, D.C. to visit memorials that are dedicated to their particular service. And my own grandfather has been part of that trip. And it was quite a blessing to our family. So Linda, you are like the kind of grandma or Gigi that all of us parents want for our kids, because you have experience in the medical field and kids get sick and hurt and, have all these little things pop up that we're like, what do we do? Do we have to run to the pediatrician again? So tell us, what was your role in the medical field?
Well, I was at LPN. We go to school a little bit less than an RN, and we work hand in hand as a team with RNs with a lot of emphasis on direct patient care. And I did that for about 30 years. And now my kids and my grandkids call me Dr. Mom. Anything that they have wrong, they call me first and ask me. And I'm always like, why don't you try Dr. Google? So, I give out a lot of medical advice, even though I'm not a doctor.
Yes. Well, experience makes a difference. When you have been in the field for 30 years and you've worked on a team with medical professionals and you've had all these different experiences, the same themes pop up. Wouldn't you agree that it's like, it's either this, or this?
Yes, usually. And then I always tell them, call your doctor too.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that intrigued me about you, first of all, one of our faithful listeners, Christy McCormick, recommended you for our show.
Thank you, Christy.
Yes, yeah. She called in and she said, Jordan, you have got to interview Linda White. And I said, well, why so? And she said, she's a grandparent doing amazing things in our community for kids and schools, and you just got to have her on your show. And so I thought, I've got to meet this gal. I mean, I was looking at your website and I looked at kind of the banner that goes along the top of your website, and it said, bringing generations together to build a better future. And I thought, oh, kindred spirits here. We're talking about legacies.
Yes, we are.
Families and bringing generations together and creating some peace and harmony among the craziness of our culture.
Yeah. Grandparents are a very, very important part to a family.
Yes.
And our logo for our website is an oak tree. And it's right here.
Yes.
And I chose the oak tree because we're sturdy. Grandparents are sturdy. Oak trees are sturdy. Oak trees have big roots. Yes. We're the roots of our family. And oak trees are known symbol as wisdom.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of us grandparents have wisdom.
Yes. And we have so much respect for your wisdom. And I think, I encourage parents all the time to tap into the wisdom of their parents and their grandparents, because even though so much has changed in parenting and technology and things like that, still some of the same old advice and parenting techniques and tactics work.
Basic parenting stays the same through the ages. And in this day and age, it does take more than a mom and dad.
Say more about that.
Well, most parents work, both parents, and my kids, that's the case. And I have been, I would say, a super grandpa, a super grandma, and a super grandpa. We are, my husband and I. We've always stepped in when they've needed help. We're kind of like Mighty Mouse. We come in to save the day.
Yes.
And, picking kids up from school, sleepovers, attending all of their events. It's just that we're kind of bonus parents.
I love that. And your kids are so blessed to have you be such an integral part of their lives and their kids' lives too. And I'm not hearing you saying like you're going in and rescuing them from consequences and and spoiling them to the point they're entitled little jerks. It's not like that.
I let the parents be parents. And we're just that bonus parent that kind of backs up the parent.
Oh, I love that you said that you back up the parent, because we had an episode earlier on in this season that was called What Happens at Grandma's Stays at Grandma's. And we talked all about how there can be kind of this division between grandparents and parents where, as parents, we're saying no sugar after this time of day, or, we want to make sure to get to bed at this time. And then when they go to grandparents, it's like party time, rules are out the window. So I love that you're saying, well, we like to back up our kids and their rules.
Now, I always honored my kids' rules. I mean, sometimes I might think to myself, I might do that differently, but I'm not their parent.
Yes. Wonderful. I love it. Okay. Well, what kind of happened in your life to spur on this idea of, starting up a nonprofit and serving the grandparent and kids community?
Well, I must admit, this was not my plan for retirement. However, it started with COVID, and a lot of things started with COVID, right?
Sure.
And I started hearing things on the news about what was going on in the schools. And I started paying attention. And then I started going to seminars, meetings about what's going on in the schools. And when I attended those, I kept hearing over and over and over again, parents should do this, parents should do that. And I'm sitting there thinking, what about grandparents? What about us? We could help with this also, because number one, we do have that wisdom. We do have more time.
Yes.
I have unbounding love for my grandkids. I have a lot of love for my children, but the love for a grandchild is different. It's less judgmental, I would say, less expectations. It's just unbounding love. And then sometimes as grandparents might have a little extra income.
Sure.
So, and we grew up in a time when math, reading, writing, love for our country was very much taught in the schools. So that's when I thought, I think grandparents need to do something. And Grandparents4Kids came to my mind. It wasn't my idea. I'm going to be honest. I do believe it was given to me by God.
Yes.
And I tried to ignore that idea for a really long time because I knew once I jumped in, I'm committed.
Right.
And I knew that once I jumped in, it was going to change my life, and it has. So, I mean, there's trade-offs, right? I don't have all the free time that I had. But what I find is really, really important as a grandparent, and I'm sure grandparents out there feel the same way, it's important for me to leave a legacy to my grandkids. Now, I know I'm leaving them a legacy of love. My grandkids already know that by my actions and my words to them. But I need to leave some legacy that's even deeper. Now, I might leave them a little money.
Sure.
But I might spend that too before.
That's right.
It comes to that. But this legacy that is so important to me is a legacy of an academic focused education. Let's focus on academics. Let's arm our kids with the ability to read and write and go out into the world with those skills and also critical thinking.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because with all the buzz in the media about artificial intelligence and how, this could just take our kids' ability to think critically away from them because they're telling a robot to create something or to create a response to a question for them. I think what you're saying is so important, and it's going to be really countercultural, this idea of continuing to teach our kids how to read and write and continue cursive handwriting, but it's so necessary in this advanced technological age of AI.
Well, in critical thinking, it isn't just something that will help you with your career. It's day-to-day decisions.
Yes.
You have to think critically to make decisions for your own children.
Yes.
You have to think critically to, run a household, balance your checkbook, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think critical thinking is something that is really lacking these days. Mm-hmm. I also think it's common sense too.
Sure.
We spend a lot of time on emotions,
mm-hmm.
and emotions are great things, feelings, but we cannot make decisions just on emotions. There has to be that critical thinking component to it.
Absolutely. As a counselor for 20 years, I always talk to my clients about, identify how you feel about something, right? Put a name to it. Okay, this makes me anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move to, and we validate that. Yes, that is an anxiety provoking situation. Mm-hmm. What do we need to do to get the outcome you want?
Yes.
Right.
We all have emotions.
Yes.
We have to have those. But you have to learn how to deal with those emotions. Mm-hmm. And that does involve common sense and critical thinking. And I do fear for the kids these days that that's not happening.
Yes. I was going to ask you about that. With your experience going into schools, sitting in on board meetings and talking to parents of kids that are going to public schools or charter schools. I mean, what do you see happening that is maybe of your biggest concern?
Honestly, there's so much happening that it's hard to just pinpoint one thing. But I think the main concern that I have is that kids are graduating from high school without learning how to read and write. And so many, I have the statistics here. I think it's Denver was just touting the fact that 79% of their students graduate from high school. Well, when you go look at the scores, because you can look that up on any state websites on Board of Education, those kids are graduating and 50 to 60% of them can't read or do math at grade level. So what good is that to have a diploma if you're not able to read and write?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think that's probably my biggest concern, because everything in life boils down to being able to read and to do math at some level.
Right. If you can't read, you're not able to figure out how to do something. I guess with robots, you can ask them how to do something and they'll tell you. But again, the concern I have about that, artificial intelligence can be good for things. It's a tool. But at the same time, when someone is using this type of technology to help them solve something or figure something out, they still have to be able to explain something to someone else or have a conversation with someone and know what they're talking about. So if you use AI to solve problems, let's say you can't read or write, when you get like in relationship with someone, how are you going to have the words and the structure of how to have a conversation with someone to make a connection, with a human connection? Right.
And, are you going to take AI with you to the grocery store to add up what your grocery bill is going to be if you're on a budget?
Right.
So, those math skills and those reading skills are more important to me than anything else. The graduation rate, they're graduating. But can they read and write?
I totally believe you. I have a friend who is a college math professor, and he teaches at a very high level. He used to. He said, Jordan, I can't even do what I am supposed to do because I have to take these kids back and these college freshmen and teach them how to add and subtract. They don't know. They got into a state school, they qualified, and somehow they have no idea how to do basic math.
Yeah. it's a problem.
Yes.
And that's why I started Grandparents for Kids, because I do realize that parents are so busy these days, working, getting their kids to all the different activities. Because let's face it, kids are in a lot of activities these days, and then homework. And they just don't have time to pay attention to what's going on in the schools. We can be that. And as I said, I don't ever want to be a substitute for a parent, but we can stand shoulder to shoulder with you.
I love that.
And if you can't attend something, we can attend for you. We can be your voice if you want to have a voice, but you don't have a time for the voice, or you're too scared. Because there are parents out there that are afraid to speak up because of their jobs.
Oh, wow.
They're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid to speak up so that their child isn't targeted.
Right.
I'm not afraid to do that.
Yes.
I don't have anything to lose except for the fact that my grandchildren might not read or write.
And that gets at your heart.
It does. So that's the legacy. That's the reason I started Grandparents for Kids, is that legacy of that academic focused education. And let me talk a little bit about our country. You know, when I was in school, we had civics. They don't have too much civics anymore. I learned through the study of civics, also through the study of, world history.
Yes.
That we do have an amazing country.
We sure do.
Is it perfect? No. But boy, is it amazing. And I notice all those people that say, if this doesn't happen, I'm moving to another country. Do they ever move to another country? No. And why is that? Because of the freedoms we have in this country. So I also want to leave that legacy to my grandkids of loving our country and being proud to be an American.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Getting back to the roots of who we are as a nation and being proud of that, and having the education, the awareness to stand up for what's right in our country.
Yeah.
So
that's
good.
why I started Grandparents for Kids.
How long has it been in existence?
Well, actually, I'm going to tell you a little tiny story of how that happened. I had this thought of going after I had gone to these meetings, but it just sat in my mind because I knew that once that gets going, it's going to be going. So I graduated from Leadership Program of the Rockies, which is a program that teaches individuals how to communicate our principles that we believe in, loving our country, how to speak about that. And last year they had a convention that they do every year. And as part of that convention, they have a speech contest.
Okay.
And that speech contest are for people that have an idea. And you can enter the contest and hopefully win some money pitching your idea. I was scared to death because I'm just a grandma.
Sure.
I am not anybody special or, I'm a grandma. And so I got up on stage and pitched for 3 minutes about Grandparents for Kids. I was so scared. My knees were knocking so hard. I thought there were motors in my knees.
Oh.
And I could not stop them.
I can relate.
And when I got done with my 3-minute speech, the room erupted into cheers. It wasn't for me. It was for my idea.
Wow.
And I won that contest. And I won $3,000. And that's what started my seed money for Grandparents for Kids. And now we are a 501c3. I do have a board. And Grandparents for Kids is structured by chapters.
Okay.
Because every school district has different issues. And I realized, I can't know everything about every school. So we have broken it down into chapters. And it's usually by county.
Okay.
But if there's more than one school district in that county, then there'll be more than one chapter. And we really started organizing chapters about November.
Okay.
And we have 4 chapters now.
Wonderful.
But I do hope it goes statewide. And honestly, Jordan, my dream, my goal is to go nationwide. Because there are 70 million grandparents in the United States.
70 million.
Think about this. If we could organize, motivate 1%. That would be 700,000 grandparents standing up for our grandkids and saying enough.
Wow, how powerful.
How powerful. And I think 1% is a goal that can be obtained.
Absolutely. And with your passion and the circles you run in, I just imagine that you are just setting ablaze these little fires of, grandparents that are just like, yes, we have a mission here.
Yeah. And the thing that I've noticed about grandparents, a lot of grandparents are very uninformed. They think that all of the things that are going on in the schools is happening somewhere else. That's not happening at my grandchild's school, or that's happening in another country, or that's happening in another capital, another state. No, it is everywhere. And I'm not saying that all schools are bad. I want you to know that.
Yes.
But there's something in every school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really important to inform these grandparents because information is power.
Yes.
And I actually hope to anger some of them because anger is also a motivator.
Yes.
And get yourself off the couch, give up one golf game, give up one lunch out with your friends, and help us.
I love it. A call to action. You're saying
it's a call to action. And I have a special call to action. It is to grandpas. I urge grandpas to get involved because you can't leave it to us grandmas. Grandpas must stand up for their grandkids. A male voice is so different than a female voice. So I have a board of, there's 5 of us on the board. I made sure that I found grandpas that would be on the board with us because a male talking to another male is far different than me talking to a male. Call to action. Grandpas, stand up, volunteer, join Grandparents4Kids.
I love that. Strong male leaders in our communities and in school board meetings and, just having that influence on their grandkids. I think you mentioned something like you can't leave it up to us, right? We talk about all the time as women that our nature is to nurture our children and that we have this intuition. We just can tell what our babies need, the sounds of their cries. And that's definitely a God-given gift, right?
Yes.
And then men are called to protect and provide and preside. And so that doesn't stop when your kids leave home or your kids start having their own kids. Like you're kind of like off duty and okay, it's time to just kick back.
A key word there is protect. Yes. That is their role. And one thing else that really grieves me about, some of the things that are going on in the schools is the early sexualization of our kids.
Yes.
And grandpas need to protect their grandkids from that. Not just girls, boys too.
Yes.
And I love that role of protector.
Absolutely. So what are some ways that your organization are kind of involving yourselves in the school system?
That's a good question. I give a lot of autonomy to the chapters. Each chapter has a leader, and depending upon the needs or what's going on in that school, it's up to them to decide how they want to do things. But we're very big about going to school board meetings, speaking out at public comment. If you're too afraid to do that, there'll be somebody else that can speak out for you.
Okay.
You can write it and we can speak it for you. I have gone to school board meetings and I have asked grandparents to go with me and stand with me while I'm speaking. That's a very, very powerful visual in front of a school board when you're standing there with 10 grandparents around you. And I say, we represent hundreds of grandparents in this school district, and we're concerned about this. So that's one thing we do. Of course, legislation and going to the legislators and speaking out on a lot of horrible things that are going on in the laws that are being passed.
Yes.
Writing letters to the editor, volunteering. volunteering in the schools. It isn't as easy as it used to be, but you can talk to the principal, and because we can be the eyes and ears to hear and see what's going on. And we have one of our chapters that has adopted an elementary school.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm. And so they're going into the elementary school and saying, what do you need us to help with?
Oh,
Because we're not your enemy.
right.
We are here for you and we are here for the kids, but we are here for an academic focused education.
Yes.
And the other thing that I love that we're doing, because some people, I'm going to be honest, some people don't like what we're doing and they call us a political group. And I want to stress, this is not a political group.
Mm-hmm.
This is not Democrat. This is not Republican. This is not unaffiliated. I don't care what kind of grandparent you are. It is also not a faith group.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know there are Christians, I know there are Jews, I know there are Muslims, I know there are atheists that are grieved about what's going on.
Yes.
We can all unite together, grandparents, to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So the part that we are also doing that's very positive, we're doing storybook hours.
Oh, say more about this storybook hours. This sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of Brave Books?
I have heard of Brave Books.
Yes. Brave Books. A lot of people will recognize Kirk Cameron. He's
Yes.
kind of the face of Brave Books. We have started doing Brave Book Grandparent Story Hours. And we've probably had 7 of them so far. And we go around to different libraries and we have Brave Book Story Hours. And what I make sure that happens during that time is that grandpas are reading the stories. And we also have activities that go on. But Brave Books are books that deal with morals, values, integrity through a fun story for the kids. So they learn lessons during that book's storyline. And you've heard of the Drag Queen Story Hours, I'm sure.
Yes.
I call us the antidote to Drag Queen Story Hours.
Tell our community about the Drag Queen Story Hours.
Well, it's when men dress up like women, and they're always very flamboyant. Flamboyant makeup, flamboyant hair. A lot of their hair, bright colors and wigs, flamboyant clothes. And they go to libraries and read books to the kids. One of the books I know they read is The Drag Queen's Hips Goes Swish, Swish, Swish. You know, it's a play on the wheels on the bus go round and round. I don't understand that. I don't understand why adult males dressed like females would want to read to these kids unless they're grooming. I mean, I hate to say that, but what other reason would there be? So I know that it's hard to ban those kind of things, and we're not for that because we do have freedom of speech in our country. That's what makes our country so great.
Amen.
But we can be the antidote.
I love it. You're going into public libraries with these brave books and Kirk Cameron at the helm, and he is, you know, kind of the face of this whole organization, and getting back to stories about, you know, kids and animals, like just with character strength and virtue, right?
That's exactly what they are.
Honesty.
Character strength and virtue.
Yes.
And at one of our story hours, we invited a young man named Jaden Rodriguez. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a 12-year-old that had the Gadsden flag patch, which is from our Revolutionary War. And he wore it on his backpack to school. And he was getting kicked out of school for that because the school told him it was I think racist or slavery, something along those lines. It was from our Revolutionary War. And Jaden understood his history and stood up and said, no. So we asked him if he'd like to come and read. He loved that. So we had a brave boy reading a brave book. And we got national attention for that from the Washington Examiner and Washington Times. They sent reporters out to cover that. And I asked him, Jaden, when we were done, Jaden, why do you have such a history? Why do you love history so much? And he said, I figure if I live in a country, I should know its history.
What a 12-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. What a good young leader already at his age.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
look what you're doing. I mean, you are just lighting it up wherever you go, bringing the community together for, again, back to the foundation of our country, morals, values,
Mm-hmm.
integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something, not division of political parties and
No.
religious groups, but it's
No.
like, let's unite to
Yes.
get back to what we stand for and what is good and true and beautiful.
Well, and I love Abraham Lincoln. I mean, obviously, he was one of our greatest presidents. And Abraham Lincoln has a quote that I would like to say: "The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next." It's pretty powerful.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our grandkids need us. They do.
Well, and as a parent, I can say we need you too.
And that's refreshing for me to hear, because it has to be a team effort. And I know there are grandparents and parents that have differing views.
Sure.
I do understand that. So I would never tell a grandparent to, go behind their parents' back and like join our organization. However, you can be back in the back scenes helping.
Yes.
You don't have to be out there. There are things that you can do to help the kids in a quieter way.
Yes. And everybody has gifts for helping in unique ways. And we need people that have all types of gifts to make these communities thrive, and for you to start chapters in other, counties and cities and states and be present in the whole nation.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that that's possible. I will tell you guys, when I talked to Linda on the phone and called her and asked her to be a guest, I think our conversation went on for like an hour and a half.
We had a lot to talk about.
We did. We just hit it off right away. And I truly believe that this is just the beginning for your organization. And I'm really behind Linda starting a podcast at some point so she can get her word out and be informing grandparents and supporting parents and kids. And my wish for you is that the schools will see you as an asset and as a partner, that you're coming along to try to help them to stay the course of what is, good and just.
And I want to say, the majority of teachers, I mean, I had teachers when I was growing up that I still remember today as influential in my life.
Yes.
And I know there are teachers still out there, but there are teachers with agendas. And teachers need to stay in their lane, teach their subjects, and, keep opinion out of the classroom. And we firmly believe that. So we are on the side of the teachers. We are.
Yes.
But we are on the side of our grandkids and the students to get that academic focused education. Yes. That's what's the most important. And, and hopefully Grandparents4Kids can help with that. I call us a secret weapon. We're a secret weapon that nobody's used yet.
A little army rising up.
We're an army of grandparents. Yes. In fact, remember that speech that I entered, that contest? I wore my husband's army jacket and his army hat. And I said, we are an army for the kids.
Yes. I love that. Well, listen, Linda, you have just blessed us with this community, the knowledge and the education of what's happening out in the schools. You're right that parents are busy and we can't possibly know everything that's happening there or be at all the meetings. And so what a resource you are for our community and the nation.
Well, I appreciate that. And, people always ask me, why? Why are you doing this? Because I have given up my retirement. And I'm going to, and I do presentations. I go out and speak. My husband asked me the other day, if somebody asked you to speak like in Kansas, would you go? And I said, of course I would. So if there's anybody out there that would like me to come and speak about this, I would be happy to do that. And our website is grandparents4kids.org. That is the number 4. So that's grandparents4kids.org. You can also email me at info@grandparents4kids.org. But I'm going to show you the reasons that I do this.
Mm-hmm.
And here they are. These are my 10 grandkids and my husband and I. These are the reasons that I'm in this.
I know they are. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you see this beautiful family all gathered around this tractor. And she is so passionate about family life. I mean, I just remember you talking about your involvement in your grandkids' lives and your great grandkids, and to have this passion and enthusiasm and energy in retirement, and to be starting something that you'll hand on to the next generation.
I hope so.
To keep going is just so admirable. So thank you for what you do for parents and grandkids.
Well, Jordan, I thank you because I need people like you to help me get the word out. And I want you to know that people your age, because you're young to me, you give me hope. You do. You give me hope because you were telling me about your family. And you give me hope for our next generation. You give me hope for our country. And I thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be able to share our message, what's worked for us in family life, how, we've tried different school options, and we're in our 3rd year of homeschool. So I just like to communicate the message to families in general and to grandparents that there are choices too.
There are choices. And that, and that's something that I like to share with grandparents and parents. I'm not against schools. I'm against schools teaching things the kids should not be hearing and not teaching the things the kids should be, learning. And I admire anybody that can homeschool, but that's a hard road and not everybody can do that.
That's right.
And I love charter schools, but all charter schools are not equal.
Yes.
I love Christian schools, but I'm going to tell you, there are Christian schools that have problems with this agenda also.
Yes.
And in fact, I called a Christian school and church not very long ago. So they were having a grandparents summit. And I thought, well, this would be great for us. And they would not let me in. They told me I was political. So, there are all options. You have to figure out what the option is for your family. But whatever that option is, as I'm sure you talk about, you must be aware.
Yes.
Keep your eyes and ears open.
That's right.
And don't be afraid to speak up, because you are the parent. You are the best advocate for your child.
100%. I just want to emphasize that we are the primary educators of our kids in faith and morals and all the virtues and character strengths. And so if something is going against what we believe to be true and good and right, we have to speak up. It may be uncomfortable, but what's really uncomfortable is when your kids come out of school not knowing what they need and not being prepared for the next level of education or for life. Abuse, neglect, all kinds of crazy things that are happening. And so it's worth it to be a little anxious and to get nervous and your voice shake a little bit at a board meeting, to walk out and say, you know what, I feel like I've done everything I can in this situation. And now we maybe will, make our decision based on the outcome of this particular thing.
And if you're a parent that is afraid to speak up, ask a grandparent to go with you.
Yes.
We can go with you and be by your side while you're in front of that principal or in front of that teacher. We can go with you.
I love that. You said standing shoulder to shoulder. Yes. We're this army rising up. We are here for you as a parents. We are here to leave a legacy for our kids and grandkids. And we've got to utilize this resource, parents. So I'm calling you, grandpas.
Yes.
Stand up, join join this movement of grandparents who are really influencing and activating at the school level. And parents, don't hesitate to reach out to Linda. She gave the contact information, and you can go to, her website and grandparents number 4 for kids, right? Grandparents4Kids.org.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We can't have an army without soldiers.
What a beautiful way to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for being with us, Linda.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm honored to be here.
And parents, be sure to share this episode with people in your community. We want to help Linda get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
So forward this episode to people in your contacts. Parents, forward this on to your parents who are grandparents to your kids. And grandparents, share the heck out of it on Facebook. I know that's where you hang out. So you be sharing this stuff on social media.
We have a Facebook page.
Oh, perfect.
Grandparents4Kids. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Search it up and join the group on social media, folks. We will bring you more great guests like Linda who are out there supporting family life and parents, just one episode after another. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you on another episode of our show real quick.